real estate agents. Welcome to the Weekly Closer. I'm your host, Jeff Underwood, along with my co-host, Joey Sampaga, the man with the plan. How's it going over there behind the curtain?
Doing all right. You know what? We just got back from the Mexican Riviera.
Yes.
And I am just pumped to get stuff done.
You are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's get it done.
You need your house cleaned?
Actually, we do. Like you said, we just got back from a trip. So, no, that's fun, man. The trip was a good time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Cruising for credits.
Yeah, so it was, if you probably heard us talking about it before, but it was something where you could go on this cruise. You could actually get credits for your real estate license, which was a lot of fun. I didn't go to a lot of classes, but
Yeah.
It was a really good time. It was a really good time.
But I'm looking forward to this episode because we got someone awesome today.
Yeah, we do. So we have with us today Dave Messener with Realty One Group. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, Dave.
I'm doing great.
And I hear you're a traveler, too.
We just got back from a week in Cancun and had an awesome time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Cancun, haven't been to Cancun, but been to Cozumel, Cabo, well, Mazatlan and Puerto Vallarta now, I guess, too. But we really like Mexico a lot.
It was a lot of fun.
Good. So you're here. We're going to talk about some real estate. I want you to first start off with sharing a little bit about how long you've been in the business and kind of why you got into real estate.
Okay, so I'll start with why I got into real estate first.
Okay.
And that is my father was a real estate broker in New York when I was growing up.
Okay.
And by the age of 12, I knew what I wanted to do. And Dad took me under his wing. I went with him on many occasions to listing appointments and sales appointments, etc. And just really enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, my father got out of that business at about age 12 and got, quote unquote, a real job back in those days and closed up his companies. And then we were able to travel the world with his new job.
Yeah.
And he was in the oil business, and we got to live in many different spots. And it was a fun life, growing up.
Okay.
But I then went to ASU, and upon graduating, I, quote unquote, got a real job too. Except my heart wasn't into that real job. It was, I wanted to do real estate.
Yeah.
And back in those days, it was about 1984. I was a skinny, blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid. And I went to an open house that a builder had built, and I met his son, who was about similar age to me. And he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I want to go to real estate school. I want to get into real estate." He said, "Why don't you come and talk to my father, and maybe he'll take you on."
Yeah.
So at night, I would basically go to school, got my license, and I then went into new home sales with this builder, and did well until the recession back in the late 80s started hitting, and things were changing, and so I had to change. And that was one of many life changes that I had to make during my 33 years in this business.
Wow.
And so I then worked at Russ Lyon for 3 years, and at the time, I know a question that you might ask me towards the end, and that is, what would you advise a new agent to do? Well, for me, I was a brand new young agent. And I was 22 years old, and I looked more like I was 15.
Got it.
And I would be aggressive. I would call expireds and canceled listings, and I'd get the appointments. And as soon as they opened the door, they just about shut it as fast as they opened it and said, "You're just a young kid."
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, what do I do? I'm great at getting appointments, but I can't seem to get my foot in the door. So with that, I would go back to the office, and there was a young lady then named Sandy Nelson. Sandy was a former flight attendant, and I said to her, "Sandy, how about if I make appointments and you and I both go on the listing? And I'll split it 50-50 with you." And she said, "That works for me." And so over the time, Sandy and I would collect 20, 25 listings, and I was no longer the young one, but more of her partner.
Yeah.
And did really well. In fact, I did so well that I didn't need help anymore, and I went on my own. And even though people would say you're a young kid, I'd be able to say, "Yeah, but last year I sold 24 homes."
Yeah.
And
wow, there you go.
And that's how I got my big break. And I loved it. And within 3 years of working at Russ Lyon, I was one of their top agents back then.
Wow.
And I was also their youngest agent at the time. And I remember going to a bank. Back in those days, we had these things called foreclosures. And I got to know them well.
Yeah.
And I went to Universal Savings, and I knocked on the door of this executive, and I said, I would like to list an $800,000 foreclosure that you have. And he looked at me and he said, but you're just a young kid. And I said, yeah, but I'm good at what I do. So with that, he gave me the listing over everybody else. He said, everybody else in the business is stabbing each other in the back to get this listing. I'm going to give it to you. And I'm going to give it to you for 30 days. Well, I said, boy, this is my
30
biggest
days.
listing
Yes,
ever. I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
So I took the listing, and it was like $8.99. And I brought it back to my broker, and my broker looked at it, and he said, I'm not signing this. This is for 30 days. And I said, Bob, please sign it. Please, I beg of you. Long story short, Bob signed the listing. I then got on the horn and called everybody I knew who sold large homes. And one of those was Betty Dickey and Darlene Fahey from Russ Lyon. They said, Dave, tell me about the house. And I told them about it. Within 4 days, they had the house under contract with me.
Wow.
And so
Great story.
I went out there and I slowly put the sold sign on. And across the street lived John Peterson, who had had his house on the market for quite some time with another agency. He came out and he said, how did you sell that this fast? And I said, I'm just good at what I do.
Wow.
John said, my listing's expiring with our current agent in a couple of days. I'd like to talk to you. From there, I listed John's house, and I sold it myself to another client that I had. From there, I took over that whole community.
Wow.
And it was great. And that's how I got my start in the luxury end of life.
Wow, that is a great story.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I was at Russ Lyon for 3 years. Then I went to Remax for 23 years and did very well there. And that's basically my path in life.
Well, I'm curious, what made you go to the bank and knock on the door?
Well, funny you should ask, because in those days I had plenty of time, so I went driving around the communities. And I saw this house that looked like it was a foreclosure. And so as I was driving around, there was the builder of the home was Judy Brown, and Judy built a lot of beautiful custom homes in Paradise Valley. And I bumped into her in the subdivision because she was building another home. And it was through that home I said, Judy, can I represent you in the sale of this beautiful, gorgeous new home? And she said, not going to happen. You're too young. However, there's a house around the corner that I built that now has been foreclosed on. Here's the guy's name and number at Universal Savings. Give him a call.
So you're just being pretty bold.
Oh, back in those days, I was super hungry. I knew what I wanted in life. And I'm a driven person. And I remember going into my broker's office and I said, Bob, I just bought a new BMW. And I was like 25 years old at the time. And I had a car phone. And I just loved having that car phone because I had an antenna in the back window.
Yeah.
So that made me really cool with
Sure,
everybody
yeah.
else. And
Was it the boomerang one?
exactly. And Bob said to me, I'm so glad you bought that car. And I said, why do you say that? And he says, because now you're really motivated to sell houses. And that's how I've always lived my life, is motivation like
Motivation. Well, what I like about this is that for a new agent or young agents, I mean, they need to listen to what he just shared.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, agents are out there probably thinking, well, what do I do? You know, I've just got my license, or I'm 22 years old. Nobody wants to listen to me. It sounds like finding a mentor or somebody to team up with.
Exactly. I have a young assistant right now. His name's Jared Falk, and Jared is 22 years old. I worked with his father back in the Russ Lyon days, and his father's since gone into new home sales, and they came to my Christmas party last year, and they said, Dave, I'd like you to meet my son. He's thinking about going into real estate. Can you talk to him? And I said, yeah, after Christmas, I'd be more than happy to talk to him. And so Jared came in around the 15th of January. We sat down. I liked him immediately. He was 22 going on 50.
Wow.
So he could relate to me. And, he's got that drive, the motivation, the want, the desire to succeed. And you've got to have that. I told you I was with Remax for 23 years. For the majority of that, I owned my own agencies. I had over 400 agents, and I interviewed every one of them. My degree from ASU is in personnel recruitment. So I have an HR degree in recruiting people. I would look into people's eyes, and if they were brand new to the industry, I would sometimes hire them, and because I had a mentor program. But they had to have the fire in their eyes. They had to have the want, the need. And one of those people that I picked up was Christy Ryan. Christy was a young lady, recently divorced, who had that fire in her eyes. And I'm proud to say that to this day, she is the number one Remax agent in the Valley as a single agent, not with a team, just herself. She got into the town of Paradise Valley and she took over.
Wow.
And but I saw in her eyes she was going to be a winner.
Yeah.
She had the eye of the tiger.
Yeah,
There you
and
go.
that's what I always want when I'm hiring an assistant. I want the hunger. I don't want I think I want to do this for a career. I want this as my career.
Yeah. So you mentioned Christmas and parties, right? I know you told us that about 50% of your business comes from your client database, your sphere, referrals, right?
That is
and
correct.
that a lot of your marketing kind of goes around holiday parties and movies
Yes.
and some mailers. Elaborate. Tell us about your parties, I guess.
Yeah, every year since the beginning of life almost, I've always had huge Christmas parties. And it's my time to say thank you to my clients as well as ask for the upcoming year's business. And we basically have 250 to 300 people come to our home every year for this party. And I do all the cooking for the most part. I take on 4 25-pound turkeys. I bring on 4 25-pound hams. I do shrimp. I do... the other night I started the meatball cooking.
Wow.
I did about 375 meatballs in that cooking, and I'll do more coming up. And I do all the desserts and so forth. We do cheese trays and Costco shrimp trays, etc. With that, we also have valet parking. We have bartenders, servers. It's done right. And this year, we're switching it up just a little bit because 50% of my clientele this year is of Indian origin from the country of India. And so we are going to have a area that's just predominantly Indian food this year.
Wow.
But I'm not going to take that.
You're not going to cook that
I'm
part,
not
huh?
cooking that part. I have now gone with one of my clients' wives, and she is going to do all the Indian cooking. And I think it's going to be awesome.
Wow.
And so we have this party. Upon departing, I say goodbye to everyone, and we give them a little gift on the way out. And it's done really well. We have hundreds of these gifts, and we hand them out to people. This past year was a scent of the Messener team, and that was a candle. And so they take that, and they also take a business card of mine in that, and it said, if you know of anybody looking to buy or sell a home in the next year, please have them call me.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, I get several calls the next couple weeks thereafter.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Absolutely.
You know, that sounds like a party that a couple maniacs need to go to.
Yes.
Well, you're more than
I know.
invited. This year, we're even going to give entertainment. We're going to have a magician there.
Nice.
A really good magician. So
That
That's
is so
awesome.
cool. That is so cool.
Got to clear our calendar right
There
now.
you
Yeah,
go.
there we go. There we go. Well, before we go to the next segment, I know you also mentioned about half the business comes from relocation.
correct.
Can you tell a little bit about how you got involved with that? And
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. The nice thing about my life is that I'm like a chameleon. I change and become what the market becomes. So years ago, I got in, like I told you, with the RTC and the savings and loans and First Interstate Bank. I did a lot of their luxury properties. From there, things it just constantly is changing. And I then went into working for Xerox with a lot of their relos. And I did that for years, and then the downturn in the market came again, and I worked for Fannie Mae, selling hundreds of their homes. From there, that dried up here a couple years ago, and I then went to work for Realty One Group. And at that point, I was a relo company that I now work with came to me and said, we need a Scottsdale realtor who can deal with the high-end buyers and low-end buyers. And we were told by a lender you would be the perfect fit for our job. And so I went to work for them, and since then I've sold several doctors' homes, as well as people from ASU and the community colleges, TGen, Make-A-Wish Foundation, just to name a few.
Wow.
And I enjoy it. I mean, people come into town, they're there to buy, and that makes life so easy. You don't mind paying out a referral fee when they're there to buy.
Sure, absolutely. So, Dave, I know that Elisa got you in here. How long have you been working with Elisa over here at Security?
I have known Elisa Axelrod since the early 90s. I'm probably her oldest person that she has worked with. In fact, I was telling you earlier about my father having been in real estate. Well, upon retiring from his profession, he came to work as one of my assistants on my team when I had the Messener team, and we had 7 agents under us. And so he and Elisa were extremely close. I think my father, if he weren't married to my mother, would have married Elisa in a New York minute. And so when he died, she was right there at his funeral. And we have always had that bond. And I'm one to believe that when you're in real estate, you have certain people you use for mortgages and for title. And Security Title, bar none, is my choice.
Awesome. Yeah, Elisa is amazing.
She is.
She's a go-getter, man, I tell you.
I love her. She's got such a positive, upbeat attitude.
Yeah.
And she'd do anything for you, and that's what I not only respect about her, but, she's just genuine.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. All right, you ready to get in the ring?
I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah, you are. How about best advice that anyone's ever given you?
That would be probably my father. And my father always said to me, when you're climbing the ladders to success, always remember to take care of those on every rung that you go up. Because you might hit the top of the ladder and it might collapse on you and you go all the way back down to the bottom. But so long as you took care of those people along the way, they'll help rise you back up again.
That's awesome.
And needless to say, with the recession of 2006 to 2009, God knows how many realtors hit that rung.
Yeah.
And so, I was worth a lot of money at one point in life, and I lost a lot of money in life. I'm happy to say I'm back to where I almost was prior to that. And it was, again, attributed to taking care of people. Because people want to do business with people they like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great advice. And we're going to take a little bit different direction here in not so many questions, but I do want you to share. You said you could share maybe your funniest, what would be like your funniest real estate story?
Oh, there's several. I've done everything from walking in on people who were deceased.
Oh.
Yeah, not a good one there.
I don't know if that's funny or
no,
not.
that one wasn't funny. However, my funniest was probably, and you know how you remember things because they were funny. It was Dennis and Cheryl Porter, and this was back in the 80s. They wanted to live in Ahwatukee, so we went out and we looked at homes in Ahwatukee. We were driving around one day. In those days, you could buy homes for $100,000, and they were nice homes. Yeah. And so we're out there driving around, and we pull up, and there's this older gentleman, probably in his 80s, washing his car outside. And they said, Dave, why didn't you show us that house? And I said, it didn't come up in my search. They said, ask the guy how much it is. So I asked him, he said, it's $102,500. I said, that's why you didn't see it. It was over $100,000. They said, can we see the house? I asked the gentleman, he said, most certainly. So with that, we go into the house, and we knew the moment we opened the front door, it wasn't going to work. It was just an older house with older finishes. It just didn't work. But we were gracious enough, since he was gracious enough to let us in, to walk through the entire house. We get out into the backyard, and there is his 80-some-year-old wife laying in a lounge chair, stark naked. She looked over at him. She screamed at him, and she ran to the house covering her parts. And I'll never forget that. It was like watching a shriveled prune running.
No.
And so that was one of many naked stories I could tell you.
Oh, no.
That's funny.
We'll keep it PG. No, I'm just- no, that is
awesome.
funny. That is funny. I'm going to have you draw. How about draw a question from the mask here? How about that?
Uh-oh. Which one's the better one to ask?
What is
Let's
that,
see.
velvet?
Who's my favorite superhero and why?
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so my favorite superhero would have to be, I'm old school, Superman.
Oh, yeah.
Superman. I mean,
Awesome.
he took care of everything for everybody quickly and without any problems generally. And that's what I like to do in real estate,
Yeah.
is take care of people. You know, Superman, he never, ever met somebody's expectations. He always beat them.
Yeah, he exceeded it.
And yeah, exactly. And that's, what Superman's all about. He would take care of people. If he saw something wrong, he was always the first one to jump into it and take care of it.
Yeah. That's
So-
a great one.
And he could fly.
Yeah, he can fly.
Yeah.
So what's your kryptonite?
Unfortunately for me, my kryptonite is food. And I'm trying to stay away from the kryptonite right now. I've lost about close to 40 pounds
Wow,
since August.
congratulations.
And I'm just trying to stay away from the kryptonite because we're going to be traveling to China in March. And I want to have the weight off before we take that trip.
Awesome.
Then not a lot of taste testing during your Christmas
Exactly.
feast.
Well, the
Since you're
beautiful,
cooking it all.
the beautiful thing about that is you cook it all, and the whole time that you're there, you're talking to people.
Yeah.
You don't get to
You don't
eat.
get a chance to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. This has been a great show. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you for
If
the
any
knowledge.
agents that are listening or watching would like to reach out to you directly, how would they do that?
They could call me on my cell phone. I always answer. That's one of the things agents don't do. So many times I get their voicemails or something to that effect, and they're very lackadaisical about getting back to you.
Yeah.
I will always answer my phone calls. And that's why a lot of people work with me, is that they know that they can reach me.
Yeah.
Even though I have assistants, they know they can always call me. And I'm usually the one who takes care of things and delegates out. So my phone number is 602-526-5200.
All right. There you go. Dave Messener. Hey, thanks again for sharing. The information you shared is definitely unique for the show. So we're excited to get this episode out there. So thanks
Yes.
again for
Well,
stopping
thank
by.
you.
Absolutely. Until next time, this is Jeff Underwood along with
Joey Sampaga.
We Are the Real Estate Marketing Maniacs, coming to you from Security Tile Studios.
Oh, yeah.
Have a great day. Take care.
God bless.
All right. Good job.
Hope I
Love
did all
this
right.
show. The Weekly Closer podcast is sponsored by Jake Krabby, NMLS number 877141 at Academy Mortgage. Are you looking to buy or refinance a home? Jake Krabby is your mortgage professional. Contact Jake at 480-442-9291. Jake Krabby is a loan officer at Academy Mortgage, NMLS number 877141. State license for Arizona number 0920357, AZBK number 0904081, and New Mexico number 877141. Academy Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 3113, and New Mexico 01451. Call 480-442-9291. Address 15333 North Pima Road, Suite 205, Scottsdale, Arizona 85260. Academy Mortgage is an equal housing